Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a little process video for you today. I'm going to be creating a little journal. When I did my unboxing for my subscription kit from House of Books, someone left a comment and asked if I could create a journal using the papers. So I pulled out a few of these papers. This was the fabric piece that came in my kit. I'll link the unboxing down below if you're interested. But I also just went through and pulled out some papers that I felt like would kind of coordinate with that particular piece of fabric. That was kind of the inspiration. I did pull just a couple pieces from another subscription kit. This big one in particular, it's still the same company. It's still from a House of Books. It was just from a different month. And then also this music paper. In the end, I think I don't end up using that big picture, but I do end up using the music paper. But I'm just going to set all these little pieces off to the side here. And this is the inspiration. This piece of fabric, as you can see, it is a scrap. It is not perfect, but I'm going to be creating a junk journal, so I don't need it to be. I have taken a piece of canvas bag, and I'm going to be using that as kind of a middle layer piece. And then I have this striped fabric that it was actually some leftover fabric from By the Will for God from a while back, and it's just been in my stash, and I felt like the colors were perfect, and I love the stripes with this pattern. And so I'm using that for the inside of the cover. I don't typically do soft cover journals or like fabric cover journals because I don't really sew. So I thought this would just be a fun kind of experiment, just make a little junk journal with these papers. This sewing machine that I'm using is just a little desktop. It's a Singer brand. It's called this Stitch Quick Plus, and it works great for little tiny projects like this. I don't have an actual sewing machine, so I'm getting braver though. I may actually end up purchasing one at some point, but in order to kind of fix the problem with, you could see that one piece, that one edge is kind of jagged a little bit. What I thought I would do is just go ahead and kind of fold this back on itself so that I have some of the stripe showing on the front, and I just thought that looked really fun. And even my striped paper or my striped fabric is not perfect because I just tore the edge, but I thought this would just be kind of a fun little addition. So I'm just pinning this together so that it will stay put, because that's the one thing about this little handheld machine is it's kind of hard to keep it straight, especially when you have, I still use it where it's got two settings, but I use it where there's a trigger basically that you make go, and I do that so that I can slow it up when I need to. There is a version where you can just let it go, but that so you can use both hands, but for my purposes, I just like doing it this way. And then I went ahead and added a second stitch along the edge of that just to kind of keep everything straight. And then I sewed down the two sides as well. So it's imperfectly perfect. I actually really love how it turned out. I have a bunch of threads hanging. I haven't decided if I want to trim those down yet or not. I kind of really like them hanging off of theirs, but I think I may need to give them a little bit of a haircut here in a little bit. But until I decide that, I'm just going to kind of go ahead and leave. I'm just going to leave them until I'm for sure how I want to do it. I did need to tie a little bit of a knot right here because, again, there's the little Stitch Quick. I know, like when you're normally sewing, you'd kind of go back and forth to kind of secure your stitches, and you can't really do that with this machine. It doesn't go back and forward. So, anyway, so this is my little cover. Like I said, I normally don't usually use fabric in this way when I'm using covers. I usually use like some heat and bond or whatever, but I just thought this would be a fun experiment. So my book ends up being, like, my pages will end up being about 4 inches across and about 5 inches tall. So it's kind of the rough size of this book. And so I'm just going to go through here. I had pulled out some other pieces of paper that I thought would work in here. And I'm just going to cut all of these down. Well, I'm going to tear them down. I'm not even using a trimmer or anything. I'm just using my ruler and tearing them down to an approximate size. They're not all going to be the same size, but that's the fun, in my opinion, of doing a junk journal, is all the pages are different. I have this doily that came in one of the kits as well. It's a paper doily and it's pretty fragile. I thought about putting it on the outside of my signature. You'll see it kind of show up a couple different places, but it ends up not going in at this point. I might do it when I'm decorating the pages later on, but for right now, he's just going to hang out there. And I'm just going to go through here and go through all of these pages and tear them down so that they fit. I'm trying to not tear too much off of any one edge or whatever. And then this is kind of where I'm at. So now I'm going to nest these pages inside each other in a random order. I'm trying to kind of do like, I have, you know, the ledger, then I have hymnal, then I'm doing a picture, then some book text, and then, you know, just kind of trying to keep it cohesive but random. I don't know, just whatever kind of looks good to you. And then I have some music paper, and you could use any, could have added like some coffee dyed paper, some tea dyed paper, but I was really trying to keep to just using the papers that I got out of my subscription kit. And so I had some ledger paper, and then I did kind of cheat and add a couple little things, but not a whole lot. You can see there that doily, I think he wants to live there, but I know if I sew it in, it's just not going to stay. And so I end up just pulling that out. And you can see here, because my signature's gotten a little chubby, some of the papers are sticking out the edge. So I'm going to go back through, and once I kind of figure out where the middle of this is going to be, I'm going to go in and trim. You could certainly leave them a little bit longer if you wanted to. I'm just going to go back through and trim these down. Originally, I had left those holes, but because I thought they were interesting. But anyway, I just went ahead and trimmed everything down so it would tuck inside my cover. And now I need to stitch my signature into the cover. But first I want to add this lined paper. This is like a cream color paper. I just had this in my stash and just felt like it really went really well with some of the patina of the vintage papers that I had. And also this gives just a little bit more writing space for my journal. So it's just one sheet of paper, but it ends up being, there's enough there that I can cut it in half. So, and then I had this was a vintage, like a John Deere tractor parts card, and it was so cool, and I thought it would really go, but when I went to fold it, it cracked. So I will use that in another way, probably in this journal, but just not as part of the signature. So I just went ahead and added those little lined pages in there, and now my signature is pretty well complete. So I'm going to tuck this inside my cover and get everything kind of lined up the way that I want it. And I'm going to add some clips on, just one on the top, like on the cover side, and then one on the bottom on the back cover, just kind of opposite sides here. And I'm trying to find my little, I usually have a little foam thing that I stab into, and I could not find it. So I'm going to be using my little We Are Memory Keepers board here for bookbinding. It's not my favorite thing, but it will work in a pinch. I just need to be able to kind of stab my awl down through here. I have a heavy duty awl that I'm using, so I can get through all of these pages and through the cover all in one stab. So I'm just kind of poking that down into those holes. So I'm using a 3-hole pamphlet stitch to bind this. I have done this multiple times on my channel, but if you've not seen me do that before, just kind of, I did a rough, you could measure it if you want to, I don't ever, but like roughly in the middle, and then about an inch or 3/4 of an inch from the top and from the bottom, I create holes. And I just left my awl in one of the holes just to keep everything from shifting around, even though I have those clips on there. Sometimes things shift. So I'm using waxed linen thread, and for this you kind of need about 2.5 lengths to 3 lengths of the width of your book. So I just measured that, and then I'm going to use a bookbinding needle here and thread this on here. You don't add a knot or anything, you just kind of leave a tail. And then starting from the middle hole to the outside, and you leave a little tail on the inside, and I kind of just tuck that under my thumb and hold it. And then I go up to the top and back into the inside of the signature. I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom hole and then back out to the outside, and then I'm going to go back in through the middle hole. Just always be very careful when you come back in through that middle hole not to split your threads. Otherwise you won't be able to tie, you won't be able to pull it tight. There are other ways to do the pamphlet stitch, the 3-hole pamphlet stitch. This is just the way I do it. It's my preferred method, but I do know other people do it just a little bit differently. And then you want to make sure that the tails of the threads are on either side of that long piece, and then you just tie a knot around it, and that's it. Now you can trim these tails down pretty close to the knot if you want to, and then tuck in the edges, but I just wanted to leave them kind of long. And then I can always trim them down or tie a bow or whatever later. But that is pretty much my little book. I do decide at this point I'm going to trim off some of these threads. This one fabric here is fraying a lot more than I anticipated, so I went ahead and just trimmed down. I didn't trim them all the way close. I want it to still look like a junk journal, so I did leave some of them, but I just trimmed them down a little bit. So I'm going to do a really quick flip through here of what my signature looks like. I haven't decorated the pages or anything. This is really just assembling this journal. If you'd like to see another video where I go in and kind of even just roughly decorate these pages to use this journal, let me know and I can give you some ideas for how to do that. I can make another video if you'd like to see that. Just let me know in the comments down below. And at some point I might use this little doily kind of as in, you know, on the end of a page or whatever, just to dress something up or create even a little pocket or whatever. So that's just one idea. But anyway, let me know if you'd like to see that in a video coming up in the future. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye.